cheerleader from the New York State SLC, Student Leadership Council, and I will be interviewing Justice Shannon Filbert.
Good afternoon. I'm Shannon Filbert. I'll let Marina go for it, and I'll just answer whatever you need.
All right, so where are you from, and what are you doing to keep busy these days?
I am from West Seneca, which is a town of outskirt of Buffalo. Everyone knows Buffalo. I am obviously staying home a lot, as everybody else is lately due to the COVID pandemic. However, I do have a full-time job as a confidential law clerk at family court, and also I am a part-time town justice. So that keeps me extremely busy. And then I try to see my family as much as I can. I have a lot of nieces and nephews who keep me going, and they're very entertaining. So I like to see them. I try and do Sunday dinner at my mom's and dad's every week. And friends, there's not as much going out and hanging out with friends as much anymore, but
Right.
we still try and do the Zoom parties and, just to touch base and keep ourselves sane.
So how did you get started as a speaker?
I actually, in my town justice job, I work with a lot of police officers at West Seneca, and one of them was setting up, I believe it was at my West Seneca East High School where I graduated, and they asked me to be a speaker. So I went and spoke about seatbelt safety, and someone asked me if I'd be willing to put on more presentations, and I said as long as it could fit into my work schedule, I'd be more than willing to. Other people had asked me in the past, and it's not something I wanted to make a full-time job, but I think it's good to put the notice out there. And I was pretty much in your shoes at your age when I got hurt, so I think it's something that kids need to hear.
Can you tell us a little bit about your program and what you like to speak about?
Sure. When I was 16 years old, junior in high school, I was going to school with a couple friends. We drove to school every morning together, and I would hop in the front seat, and we'd go about a mile to pick up the next guy, and I would hop in the back. So I didn't wear my seatbelt, and I ended up sustaining a spinal cord injury. I am actually paralyzed from the neck down. I sport a power wheelchair every day, and since that injury and not wearing my seatbelt, just try and show kids that they're not invincible, because I always thought I was. And when you're that young and you think you're just going from point A to point B, it's not necessary, but it truly is. And it takes literally 3 seconds to just buckle up. And I didn't do that. And I wouldn't want anyone else or any other family members to go through what me or my family went through. So I think it's definitely good to put that message out there.
I think that's a really powerful message for teens to hear as well. Is it hard for you to tell your story over and over again?
And that's a reason I didn't really ever get into this. I mean, people had said, you have an inspiring story. Why don't you think about doing this as a career? And kind of the same way as I stopped focusing just on physical rehab, I moved on with my life. And although this is a huge part of my life, it's not my whole life. So I did focus on education, school, career, but this is still a part of my life. And I think it's good to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it every day. It's been 22 years, so obviously I'm thick-skinned, I'm used to it, but I don't want it to become all-encompassing, because I don't think that is healthy for anybody. But I do still think it's a good message to get out there when I can.
I think it's great that you take part of your time and spread your message to other teens, because it's a really important subject, like you said. Teens often say that it's not them, it's their parents that don't wear seatbelts, but we mostly see crashes with teens who aren't wearing their seatbelts in the backseat of the car. How big of an issue do you think seatbelt safety is for teens, especially when they're not only in the front, but in the back of the car?
I think it's a huge issue. And as a town justice, I'm up to date on, recent laws, recent statutes, and New York State did just institute a buckle up in the back as well, where it used to be just voluntary for adults and mandatory for children. Now it's mandatory for everybody. And I think a lot of times with teenagers who are at the most vulnerable stage because they feel invincible, I think it's a lot of times too that they get their license, they want to be cool, they're embarrassed to tell their friends in the backseat to buckle up, but there's really nothing embarrassing about that. You don't take off. Imagine how embarrassing it's going to be if you didn't do that for 2 minutes to say, hey, buckle up, and you ended up crashing and your friend's hurt or dead. It's something that people don't think ahead of. And if you just think twice and think ahead, it could be prevented.
I definitely agree with you on that. Would you mind telling us about some of the advocacy work you've done or other people that you work with have done with this
I actually
position?
am on the board of directors for, it's a program, it used to be called Wheels with Wings, and now it's called the Motion Project. There is a local girl around here who was also injured, not in a car accident, but she has a spinal cord injury. And I try and, help the community that way. We give grants to various people who, get spinal cord injuries from various different ways. And because insurance doesn't always cover everything, we offer various grants for home modifications, vehicle modifications, rehab, once your insurance cuts you off. So I really try and give back in that way too. We are opening a new facility around here because when I first got injured, there's no specialty hospital that deals with spinal cord injury. So I had to go to Atlanta, Georgia. It's called the Shepherd Center. And I went there for 6 months, which is outrageous to be, especially
Right.
life-altering time like that when you're 16 and you're away from friends, family. It was horrible. So the fact that we're starting up this center, I think is going to be priceless. Advocacy with respect to seatbelts, again, I work through SAD as a independent contractor. I don't do as many presentations as I'm sure would be beneficial, but I try and do as many as I can. It's a wonderful program. They have a lot of other speakers who have incredible stories that are different than mine, and they're available as well.
We really appreciate you and everything that you do to try and help anybody and spread your message to everyone. When you're speaking, do you have a favorite audience that you like to speak to?
I like audience that engage. I truly do, because sometimes I feel I'm like, am I getting through to these children? The most moving audience I ever had was when I actually went to my high school. It was the week after there was a fatal crash here locally, and they contemplated canceling the whole event. And once they really sat down and said, this is the time that could be most impactful, and they decided to go forward. I don't think there was a dry eye in the stands that day, because it hit home to all of them. The child or the teenager, there was drinking involved as well, but they weren't wearing seatbelts, and there was 2 deaths that occurred. So I think that was probably the most moving presentation that we had done. There was also another speaker there who was a race car driver, so that was pretty cool. And I think they really got a lot out of that. But I love teenage kids, high school kids, the ones who, again, it's not going to happen to them. They're the best drivers. I think they're the ones that I hope I get through to, and they're my favorite audience to speak to. Right now, with the whole COVID situation, it's kind of tough. I don't know if I'm getting through to the kids as much. I don't get to really see them. They don't get to see the impact of, I am sitting here. I am not moving. I'm in a wheelchair. They don't get to see that. And I think that's a disservice to a lot of the kids that are seeing this. And that's sad to me. But again, we need to social distance, and there are virtual ways that we can do it. We have been doing it to get the message across, because guess what? Kids are still driving. That doesn't stop because of a pandemic. So we can't stop. This message needs to still get out there. So virtual, we will make it happen. I mean, if I need to roll back and show you my wheelchair, it's just, I'm literally not making this up. It's just, I wish that it could get across as it does in person. But hopefully the virtual message can still get across. I do have like a PowerPoint presentation that has some pictures and other, things in there that you can also show during a Zoom meeting or a virtual meeting or via Teams, Skype, however we'll do them all. I'll do them all. I'm used to from work doing all of them. You name it, I can do it. So we can do that again. It's not as impactful, but we have to keep going. And this is actually, my schedule is a little bit more flexible now because of this, that I can get in over lunch hours and stuff like that for schools where when I'm usually at work, I couldn't do that. So this is the time that I can hopefully reach out to more people despite not being in person, still get the message across.
Besides really wanting to like reach out to the kids and spread your message, is there anything else that makes you want to keep doing this job?
Well, looking at the statistics, I always try and depending on what school I'm speaking to, look at the statistics around there and see. I want those statistics to go down and feel like, the SAD program is making an impact. So I'm hoping someday, after doing this for a couple of years, that, oh, these statistics are going down. There is a reason for that. Kids are, smartening up, paying attention.
How do you think you make teens feel after you're done presenting?
I just hope I open their eyes and give a different perspective. Again, it's not all about me, but I want to show them the ripple effect that something like this would have, not only on me personally, on the driver, on the other person in the vehicle, on my whole family, on my parents, on the community at large. It's not something that just affects the individual. It goes larger than that. It's a ripple effect. It's life altering, not only for me, but for everybody involved. There's mental health issues attached to possibly the driver who, felt the guilt. Why her? Why not me? So I want kids to know and take that perspective, although they might think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Could happen to your sister, could happen to your mother. What if someone hits your mother, and they weren't wearing a seatbelt and your mom, there's just so many different avenues and ripple effects that happen with teen driving that I think kids will hopefully take that out of it from me.
I 100% agree. So, as far as your presentation goes, is it geared towards high school students or what is your preferred age range to speak to?
I think, the driving population, the junior, senior, high school or pre-driving, even middle school, freshman, sophomore. I think that's the best type of student body to get across my message because they're the ones that are actually going to be on the road per se. So I think that's my favorite. And I think those are the ones that hopefully are listening and really getting something out of it. But it doesn't mean that young, I again, through my job at West Seneca as a town justice, a lot of times we get people coming in who have been speeding and they're younger and they're, going 40 miles over. Again, their brain is not fully developed. They're not mature enough. They need to have a class, and maybe a class that has someone like me speaking to them or a SAD student speaking to them. There's a lot of different ways that it's not only high school students, but other people can learn about the impact that their driving may have on others.
So, to even extend the awareness after you're finished with your presentation, are there any follow ups after the program that teachers could use if they wanted to do more programming with their audience?
I mean, I don't know if Lauren, maybe this is something that you'd like to jump in with. That's more of the SAD program. I'm sure they have so many different programs, other speakers that they could utilize. I don't really know the specifics on that. I apologize.
That's okay. No, we absolutely do. So there are any number of resources from SAD and our partner programs, our folks that work locally, to be able to do those follow-ups in our either the virtual way or going into the classrooms if that's something that's available. There are lesson plans. There are things that we can send you and kind of spawn off of what the speakers talk about and keep the message going, that you could use in the moment, right after a speaker's program, or months down the line where you can kind of do something each moment or each month. So yeah, that's absolutely available. We have that on as links through our website, newyorkny.sad.org, or you can get in touch with me, which my information will be on after this as well.
You're a sitting judge for the town of West Seneca. What is it like to be on the bench from like a judicial and law standpoint?
I love it. It's very interesting. Every case is different. I also have to step back and take an impartial role, and I don't go in, thinking that I know which way the case is going to go, because I have to listen to all sides of everybody's story and, be the finder of fact and be impartial and fair. And I feel I take that duty very seriously. So it's something, it took a lot of work and a lot of effort to get there. And I'm going to make sure that I uphold what I said I would do. I enjoy it. Unfortunately, right now, because of the pandemic, everything is very, very different. It's not the job I ideally love, because we're not having in court, in-person
Right.
court. And I think a lot of times, that is important too, especially to the defendants, but we keep going, we keep moving on like everybody does.
I just want to personally thank you for all of your service that you help with in the community and everything. I really think it's just an awesome, awesome thing.
Well, congratulations up to you for being involved in a chapter. I think you're a chapter president or for SAD.
We're on the Student Leadership Council, so it's a select group of SAD members from New York who really just want to take on a bigger role and participate even more in campaigns and projects that we're working on right now.
I think that's awesome. It shows a lot of ambition, initiative, and hopefully, strong women will keep going forward and it'll line you up with something very, very good in the future for your career. So build that resume.
Thank you so much. As far as the virtual and social distant programs, how can a school or group schedule or access to your presentation or get set up to talk about it with you?
I have, I don't know if you guys could put my email address up on the website and schedule. I'm open to phone calls. You could, teachers can text me. I'm pretty easy to schedule with. Maybe not getting the exact timing because of my jobs and everything. That's very difficult, but I do want to be as accommodating as I can, and get in some presentations. So reach out to me by email, phone, text. You can go through Lauren and she'll forward me on. That's usually how it happens. Somebody reaches out, says, hey, I just had a class a couple of weeks ago that was an alternative school, and they just thought the whole judicial portion, along with other things I've done in my past, that would be good for that class. And Lauren linked them up with me, and I think we scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So if someone wants to schedule, we make it happen. And I think it's free for the schools. I think a lot of times they don't know that and they're worried about budgets. Everybody's obviously worried about budgets right now, but I believe this is a program that has grants, and it's something good for kids to break the monotony of Zoom classes nowadays. This would be such a good class for a health class to do, or, participation in government class. There's so many different ways that you can get credit, and it's just something different.
I think it'd be really amazing for as many students as possible to hear your message and see your presentation, because like you said earlier, people don't think it's ever going to happen to them, and they just really need to take it into consideration. And I think your presentation would be great for all high school students. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Marina, thank you. And Lauren, thank you.
Well, I'm so happy to have you on. And, you know, we don't get to speak to you face to face as much as we used to, I guess we'll say.
Right.
But it's really great to be able to push these programs out there, to be able to offer them for free. Like you said, we are grant funded. So this is something that we're able to offer through the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee of New York. The sessions are completely funded by that grant up until a certain point. So you know, for this year, we've got plenty of spaces left. We would love to be able to offer Shannon or any of our speakers to you for free, because it is something that I think every high schooler needs to see. Every person that's learning to drive needs to see that there are repercussions and there are consequences to the actions that we make and the choices that we take on. So it's really important. I'm thankful to all of our speakers and Shannon for being willing to have these interviews with us to get a better idea of, you know, what your program's about, where you're at, and how flexible we can be with this grant. So thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Marina. And stay tuned for more.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you.